Pricing AI, it can feel like trying to catch smoke, right? How do you even put a price tag on something that feels so abstract? Well, today, we're going to crack that code. We're diving deep into a case study on a company that's doing it brilliantly, ElevenLabs.
I mean, really, it all comes down to this one big question. How do you put a price on a voice? Think about it. It's not just the words on a page. It's the quality, the speed, the emotion behind it. That's the puzzle every generative AI company has to solve. And as you're about to see, ElevenLabs has come up with a seriously clever answer.
Okay, so first things first, let's be clear about what we're talking about here. ElevenLabs, it's not just another text-to-speech toy. Nope. This is a full-blown audio infrastructure platform. We're talking hyper-realistic voice generation, voice cloning, multilingual dubbing, the whole shebang. And it's for everyone, from a single YouTuber all the way up to massive companies.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to break this whole thing down piece by piece. We'll start with their plans and how they even measure usage. Then we'll get into the really interesting stuff, the choice between speed and quality. We'll cover what happens when you run out of credits, look at how their pricing has changed over time, and wrap it all up with the big takeaway. Okay, let's jump right in. First up, we've got to understand the absolute foundation of their model, the plans and the usage meters. Because before we can talk about the strategy, we have to know two things. Who are they selling to, and how do they actually count what people are using?
And the answer to that first question, their audience is, well, it's huge. You've got everyone from solo creators, think YouTubers and podcasters, all the way to giant enterprises baking this tech right into their software. And that massive range is super important because it means a simple one-size-fits-all price just isn't going to cut it. They need something that can grow right alongside their users.
So what they've built is this beautiful classic value ladder. Of course, it starts free, so you can play around with it. But check this out. For just $5, you unlock instant voice cloning, the real magic. Bump it up to $11, and now you're getting professional voice cloning. And as you keep climbing the ladder to pro, scale, and business, it stops being about just getting more characters. Now you're unlocking serious tools for teams, things like running more jobs at once or having multiple people on one account.
So, how are they tracking all this usage? Well, the most basic unit is the character. Just think of it like currency. Their main product is turning text into speech, right? So every time you type something and hit generate, you spend some of that character currency. Simple, straightforward.
But wait, not everything they do starts with text. What about features like dubbing a video into another language or their conversational AI? Charging by the character there doesn't really make sense. So for those features, they cleverly switch to a different meter, minutes. It's all based on the length of the audio file you're processing.
And yep, there's even a third meter, hours. This one's for their speech-to-text service, turning audio back into text. So if you've got a ton of interviews you need transcribed, you're going to be looking at your hourly quota. And here's a little teaser. The cost per hour can actually change a lot depending on how you do it. We'll get to that. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. We've talked about characters, right? But here's the twist. Not all characters are created equal. This brings us to a super important choice that ElevenLabs puts right in your hands. Do you need speed or do you need quality?
And this is literally the choice you make. You've got the Flash model. It's all about speed. We're talking sub-second latency, perfect for a chatbot or a quick preview. And, get this, it's cost optimized. Using it basically doubles your character limit. Then you have the multilingual V2 model. This is the top shelf stuff. It's slower, yeah, but it's incredibly expressive, emotionally rich, and supports a ton of languages. This is what you use for that final podcast narration, and it uses your characters at the normal rate.
And that right there is the brilliant part. They're empowering you, the user, to make an economic choice every single time you hit generate. This pro tip is gold. Use the cheap, fast Flash model to get your drafts done, to check the timing. Then, when you're ready for the final cut, you switch over to the high-quality model. It's an absolutely genius way to let people control their own spending. Okay, but what happens when you're on a roll and you burn through your entire monthly quota? Well, that brings us to the next layer, overages, and some of the other kind of hidden levers that affect your final bill. Now, check out how smart they are about this. Most companies punish you for going over your limit, right? Not ElevenLabs. They actually reward you for being on a higher plan. If you're on the creator plan, an extra 1,000 characters costs you 30 cents. But if you're on the business plan, it's down to just 12 cents. See what they're doing? They're making it a no-brainer to upgrade once you start using the service more. Here's another one of those hidden levers.
They actually charge different prices for the exact same feature depending on how you use it. For example, transcribing an audio file by uploading it on their website is way more expensive than doing it through their API. Now, that's not a trick, it's just really smart segmentation. It automatically separates the casual users from the serious developers who are building this into their apps. So what's this number 15 all about? That's the number of jobs you can run at the same time on their scale plan. On the free plan, it's just 2. This is what you would call an invisible upgrade lever. You might have tons of characters left in your account, but if your team needs to crank out 15 audio files right now, guess what? You're going to need to upgrade to get that speed. It's not about volume, it's about workflow. Now, it's really important to know that they didn't just pull this amazing pricing model out of a hat. No, this was a journey. They tested things, they learned, they tweaked it, and honestly, the story of how their pricing grew up is a masterclass all on its own. So back in 2023, things were super simple. One big bucket of credits for everything. A year later, they added more plans, but still kept that single credit system. Then they tried something. They split the credits into different types for different AI models. And you know what happened? It just confused people. It created friction. So they learned their lesson. They went back to one unified credit system, but they used all those other clever levers we talked about, like feature gating and the speed versus quality choice, to guide people. The big lesson, keep it simple for the user, even if it's complex behind the scenes. All right, so we've peeled back all these layers. What's the big takeaway here? What makes this whole system work so well? Not just for the company, but for its customers too. It really comes down to 4 key pillars. 1, it's a hybrid model. You get a predictable monthly bill, but with the flexibility to pay for extra usage. 2, feature gating. They lock away the really powerful tools for the higher tiers, which makes upgrading feel valuable. 3, those invisible levers we talked about, like letting you run more jobs at once to tempt scaling teams. And 4, value alignment. Letting you choose between the fast model and the quality model means you only pay for what you truly value in that specific moment. And this quote just nails it perfectly. The end result of all this complexity isn't a confusing mess. It's a system that's transparent, that's scalable, and that naturally sorts users into the right buckets without any friction at all. It just works. Look, if you take away just one thing from this entire explainer, let it be this. Their entire philosophy is about rewarding scale, not penalizing it. Cheaper overages, more team members, faster workflows, everything is designed to make you want to grow with them because it feels like a good deal, not a penalty. And that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As AI gets baked into, well, pretty much everything, is this the future? Is this layered, value-based model going to become the new standard for how we pay for software? It's a pretty fascinating thing to think about.